Here is my Pilea. As you can see, the Pilea has a lot of pups currently growing off of the main stem. So we have the main stem that's located right here. And then we also have a pup here, a pup here. We have another pup here. So there are a lot of pups on this Pilea. I really prefer for this Pilea just to have one main stem and not the number of pups that it has around the base. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show you how I will go about taking these pups off of the main stem and then propping the offshoots to create more Pileas. So there are a couple of ways that we can go about propping this Pilea. For the pups that are less established, what we can simply do is we can go in and really just pluck them from the main base. So let's start with this particular pup that's located. I'm going to try to show you here. It's located right here. What I'm going to do is I'm simply going to snap it off of the main trunk using my fingernails. And just like that, we have a pup. I'm going to do the same thing across the entire Pilea. Okay. Here's another one. Now the reason why I'm doing this is just purely for aesthetic reasons. If you want, you can keep your Pilea nice and bushy, or if you want to, you can have your Pilea just have one main stem. And here is a thicker one right here. Okay. Oh yeah, that one's nice and mature. Okay. And there you have it. So my Pilea has been cleaned up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to thoroughly water this, put it back outside, and we're going to get to propping the pups. So I'm currently growing my Pilea outside. I'm going to keep it outside during the spring as well as the summer so it can put on a tremendous amount of growth. I also have some water here. I'm going to thoroughly water this Pilea after I have taken its pups off. I'm going to make sure that I water thoroughly. We have to remember that with terracotta pots, they typically dry out more quickly than if we were to be using a ceramic pot. That's because terracotta pots, they like to breathe, so the soil tends to dry out more quickly. So I'm going to finish this up. This is probably about a quart of water that I'm using to fill this terracotta pot up. So I know that I've watered thoroughly because water is now dripping out of the bottom of my pot. That's what you want. So I'm gonna leave this here and we're gonna go back inside to take a look at the pups and how to prop them. So here are the pups that I've gotten from the mother plant of the Pilea. There are a couple of ways that you can go about trying to prop these pups. Some people like to use the soil method. The soil method basically just consists of putting these pups into pots of soil and getting them to root. That method is a little tricky because if you don't keep the soil evenly moist, then chances are your Pilea will die out before roots will form on the base. The method that I'm going to use is a water prop. So here are the steps that I use to prop these Pileas. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go about taking the bottom leaves off of the Pilea so I can just have a nice healthy stem at the bottom. So I'm going to just remove these leaves. Now when I remove these leaves, I want to make sure that I leave some healthy leaves up top. That way the Pilea can still produce energy, and by producing that energy, the roots are going to form on the bottom for me. So here's one that's been done. Now let's go down the line and do the rest. This looks good. The reason why we want to remove the lower leaves is because we don't want the lower leaves to sit in water. If they do sit in water, it can end up causing rot, which will impact the success of the propagation. All right, so now we have our 4 Pilea props ready to be placed in water so they can hopefully root. Here are the size cups that I like to use for my props. Really, any size will work. I just like to use these because this is just what I have a lot of here at my house. When you're using this cup, I'm going to fill it up pretty shallow. I want the water line to be roughly about where my finger is. The reason why I want to do that is because I want to make sure that the water isn't filled up too much or too high to where it gets on the leaf and causes the leaf to rot. So I'm going to go to my sink and I'm going to fill these up right now. All right, so I filled this up with water. The water is lukewarm, nothing too special, and I have 4 cups here. I'm gonna give each prop its own cup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this Pilea and I'm just gonna situate it to where the bottom of the Pilea is in the water. And I'm gonna do this for every single prop. All right. So now I'm gonna change the angle so you can see what this looks like in the water. All right, so here are what my props look like. As you can see, the water is just on the bottom of the Pilea trunk and it isn't on the leaf at all. Same thing for this one. Same thing for this prop. And same thing for this prop. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these in some bright indirect light and I'm gonna come back to see how they're doing. If you like videos like this and would like to see more videos about houseplant tips, tricks, and propagation, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. It's totally free and would mean a lot. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. So here's where I've placed my Pilea pups. They are gonna get bright indirect light through this window. So they're gonna get several hours of light per day. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna check every single day to see how the props are doing. What I wanna also make sure is I keep the water levels pretty consistent with where they are now. I also wanna make sure that I do frequent water changes. Frequent water changes are important so you can make sure that the water doesn't get filled with muck, and also so you can limit the chances of rot occurring. Here's my update of how the props are doing. The water level looks good. No roots have formed yet. No need to change the water. I'll check back again tomorrow to see how things are going. So here is the day 3 propagation update. As you can see, the foliage still looks nice and green, but the water levels have dropped a little bit. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to fill them up just a little bit. All right, and I'll be back tomorrow for a day 4 update. Here is the day 4 update. I took a look at some of the cuttings, and for this cutting, there's a root that's starting to form right there. So I'm going to continue with my patience, and I'm going to leave this here, and we're going to continue to check every single day to see how long it takes for the roots to develop. Here is the day 5 update. I'm starting to get some roots on this one right here. So the prop is coming along very well. I'll check back again tomorrow to see how it's doing. What I'm waiting for is I would like to see more substantial root growth before I decide to pot these in pots. Here's the day 6 update. Because of the root formation, you can see that the water levels have started to drop even more and more quickly. So I'm going to fill it up for my day 6 update. There are also more roots forming in this particular Pilea right here, as well as this Pilea. All right, so I'll check back again tomorrow for my day 7 update. Day 7 update. We have additional root growth on this particular Pilea pup. We also have additional root growth on this Pilea pup. And then if we take a bird's eye view, you'll see we have additional root growth on this Pilea pup. And then we have more root growth starting on this big Pilea pup right here. So all in all, the roots are starting to look very good, and it's almost time for us to put these pups in the soil. Day 8 update. One of my Pileas needs more water. So I'm gonna add more water to this cup right here. All right, perfect. As you can see, there is root formation happening on this Pilea as well. You can see the root right there. And then we also have a lot of roots forming on this Pilea as well. And then root growth here and root growth here. So I am probably gonna give this another day or so, and then in another day or so, we're gonna pot these pups up. Day 9 update. The roots are looking really good. So I think tomorrow I'm gonna pot all 4 of these pups up, and we'll go from there. Look at those roots. Okay, so you've been really patient waiting for your Pilea Peperomioides pups to finally develop roots like this. This is the perfect example of how you want your roots to look before you begin to pot your Pilea. Now, you can wait for the roots to be a little bit shorter, but to me, this is the ideal length. So now let's finally get to the exciting part of putting this pup in a pot to get it ready to look like the adult Pilea. In order to finish this propagation, you really only need a few things. You need your rooted Pilea Peperomioides pups, a pot, and potting mix. This potting mix is a 50-50 Purelite potting soil mixture. I find that this gives the best aeration for Pileas, as well as providing enough moisture retention to help those roots fully develop. I'm only going to do one of these, but the same steps are applicable for all of your pups. So I'm going to take my potting mixture and I'm going to fill up my terracotta pot like so. I'm going to fill it up to be about 2/3 full. Okay, so we have it at about 2/3 full right now. Now that it's 2/3 full, I'm going to take my pup and I'm going to place it into my pot in the right position or in the position that I want it to rest. And then I'm going to backfill the rest of the pot with the mixture that I created. I'm making a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. All right. So again, I just want to position it in the spot that I want it. Like so. Lastly, what you want to do is you want to give your newly potted Pilea a thorough drink of water. So I'm going to take this tray and I'm going to put my Pilea on it. This tray is definitely larger than what you need for a pot this size, but I am using this tray for demonstration purposes only. I'm going to take my water and I'm going to give it a thorough drink. What a thorough drink means is you want to make sure that your water fully saturates the newly potted mix that you put your Pilea in. What full saturation looks like is water coming out of the bottom of your terracotta. You'll also notice that when you water, the soil mixture that you use to pot your Pilea will become more compact, so you might find holes develop. In this case, when you find those holes develop, you just want to fill up your Pilea with additional potting soil. Okay, so no water has drained out yet, so I'm going to continue to water. And now we finally see water seeping out of the bottom. And now your Pilea has been fully saturated. And there you have it. Those are the steps in order to propagate your Pilea Peperomioides. If you want to find out how to turn your Pilea Peperomioides pup into a Pilea like this, be sure to click on the video over here. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.